My name is Louis. I'm the leader, teacher, student, coach, and mentor on the philosophy of Spinoza and Gurdjieff. The topic today is about Osho. Now, Osho has been gone for many years, yet he has a great following. He also has a lot of good things to share. I've listened to Osho, and I found that he recommended Gurdjieff. He talks about Gurdjieff as being a highly evolved spiritual teacher. I use Gurdjieff as part of my work. I also work with Spinoza. But I want to talk about Osho for a few minutes and see where he takes us. I think much of his work is truly inspiring, spiritually oriented. And again, this is going to be an update. The year is 2019. So it's been a few years since my last video of Osho. Osho is from India, and he advocated the idea of awakening. Awakening what? What is awake? He's talking about awakening the mind. But then what is the mind? The mind is different from the brain. The brain is a physical organ that's embedded in the skull. The skull is a shell, a skeletal shell that protects the brain. The brain is an organ that has a great function. It maintains the operations of all the systems of the body. That is the lymph system, the skeletal system, the immune system, the blood system, the lymph system, the skeletal system, the muscular system, and so on. It works with the gut and the spinal cord. It's basically a storehouse of memory. Scientists today, neuroscientists, are confused. They think the brain is the mind. I think Eastern teachings, teachings from individuals from India who do a lot of meditation, they have more of an idea of what the mind is than what Western society knows about the mind. However, there are limitations. I believe Osho and many of spiritual leaders from India, like him, believe that meditation is a way to reach nirvana. And the idea is to quiet the chatterbox of the mind. And this is where Eckhart talks about the chatterbox. Spinoza talks about the mind as an idea of the body. The mind is a thinking thing. It's comprised of knowledge. However, some of this knowledge is clear and some is confused. We must learn and discern the difference when we are clear and when we are confused. What do we mean by confusion? Well, we believe that people have free will. We see someone do something that we don't like, we automatically react to them. Or someone looks at us with disdain or contempt, and we have an emotion. We go into hate, pain, and anger automatically without thinking. Osho talks about Gurdjieff. What about Gurdjieff? Again, he held Gurdjieff in high esteem. He said Gurdjieff had the truth. But what is the truth? I think Osho came close to it. Yet I feel that he did not reach the level of Spinoza. Spinoza was a 17th century philosopher. He uses psychology, science, medicine, and philosophy. With reason and intuition, he realized what the mind is and what the body is. The body is the object of the mind, and the mind is the idea of the body. They work together as one. So whatever goes on in the body, the mind has an idea of it. The body is comprised of, say, 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, and what's missing? Anyway, I think I missed one of them, but that doesn't matter. The idea is that these senses, we pick up information around us. What is that information? From our sight and sound, we see things, objects, and we have a limited information of these objects. We are born into an environment that you had no choice. You're an infant. You came from your mother's womb. And hopefully every part of your body is working adequately, functioning. You become a child. You're 6 months old, a year old, 2 years old. You're dependent on the people that raise you. It could be your mother and your father or some relatives. You could be an orphan raised by strangers, but they become your parents. Some of us grew up in an environment that are very nurturing, full of love, full of care, full of respect, and they teach us how to learn. They love education, and they express love and they express affection. Some of us grow up in an environment that is devoid of feelings, devoid of love, of affection. What happens to us? We are not able to express love or intimacy. So, an individual who follows Osho, and there are many thousands who do, even today, listen to his tapes and recordings. Wonderful. Get his spiritual insights. Yet nothing has changed. You cannot change an individual just by listening, just by watching, or being in an audience, taking notes. The only way an individual can change is begin to learn how to see oneself. How is that possible? How do we see ourselves? Because the minute we begin to look at ourselves, we begin to judge it. And what is judgment? We believe we shouldn't behave as we are. Many times we react with and we regret what we do. Some of us are abusive. We might have a great career. We might be a doctor. Yet we can't share intimacy. We don't know how to love. There are others who are very expressive in love. They take care of people. They're very charitable. Yet they have no connection with their children. I remember my mother. My mother had 11 children. And one day she told my sister, my mother at this time was in her 80s, and she confided in my sister. I had 4 sisters, and Victoria is a year and a half younger than I. She's no longer living. She died a year ago at the age of 77 of cancer. But she said to my sister, I never wanted to have children. What a shock that is. Here she had 11 children and 3 or 4 miscarriages. Her expression, she never really expressed affection or love. She was too busy surviving, cleaning, feeding, changing diapers, and so on, and having more children. Never have time for intimacy, never had time to hold a child when they needed at least 2 or 3 years old. As an infant, she nursed. She loved children, infants. But when you grew up, you're on your own. My parents fought. There was a lot of emotional turmoil in the family. So the children fought and expressed aggression towards one another. That's my story. I grew up with a feeling of worthlessness, a feeling of impotence and powerlessness and emptiness. So if we have all this preconceived notions of what life is about, in Buddhism there's a belief that life is suffering. Everyone is suffering. So some individuals ask, well, why does God allow suffering? And this was where the idea of free will comes in. Everybody believes in free will. Why do they believe? It's because that's all they know. We see life from our senses, and our sense perception is erroneous. We don't see clearly. So this is where Gurdjieff gives us some insight about what is life about, how to see life with new lenses. I have these lenses, and they help me see. But there's a lens in the mind. We can see from old memory patterns, or we can see life with new eyes. But we must find these new eyes in the mind. Again, the mind is comprised of clarity, and the mind is comprised of confusion. We must learn how to awaken the mind. What does that mean, to awake? Gurdjieff talks about the idea of awake. He also talks about the idea of sleep. The mind is asleep. There are over 7 billion people in this planet Earth, and everyone believes in free will, and everybody sees through the lenses of their confusions. I think Eastern religious groups, individuals from India, there are many wonderful teachers out there. They express beautiful ideas. The idea of nirvana, promising nirvana. That's all you have to do is meditate and give up your desires. How can you do that? You might, say, attend a seminar, a weekend. Travel to India if you're from, say, Western society, and you look forward to going to India. Go to these retreats. Might be a month. And you're there, and you pray, and you meditate. And you eat organically healthy food. You feel wonderful. You go back to your life, and nothing has changed. You react just like you always did. You feel pain, hate, and anger. The work that I do does not eliminate hate, pain, and anger. It learns how to see them without judgment. And in the seeing, we learn how to awaken the mind. Because the ego mind cannot see the pain, the hate, and the anger. Spinoza gives us keys of how to see, and gives us definitions, what pain is, what anger is, and what hate is. Pain is a decrease of power. That's all it is. Pain indicates that our actions are inhibited. Our desires are inhibited. For instance, you desire a job, and you apply for that job, and you have your credentials give you the right to endeavor to seek that job, but you feel certain inadequacy of, you don't know how to communicate. You live in fear. You don't get that job, and you feel pain. You didn't get the desired job, so you want to be in a position of management. Or you're a hairstylist, and you want to be in this particular salon. Or you're a chef, and you apply for this job, but you fail to perform. Why? Because you're too nervous. Or you're an actor, and you know actors, they go to thousands of interviews. They try for a particular part, and they fail. Individuals learn to accept failure and learn how to deal with failure. For some individuals, failure is a stepping stone to success. Others fear failure. They're devastated with failure. The idea is to learn how to strengthen the mind. And the awakened state of the mind is being able to see and learn how to awake and live from this state of mind. To begin to face our failures, our pain, and our suffering. Learn to see them with the lenses of the mind, the awakened mind, the mind that has light, the enlightened mind. There's an old saying that if you're in this great meditative state, that you reach the place of nirvana. There's a feeling of light. I would say that's an imagination. It's not real. What is real is facing your nature. But you must find someone to help you. And that's what I offer. A school. I use Skype. You can come to my website. Look down below and find my website, wayofspinoza.com. I hope to see you and continue these studies. Thank you for now.